Oh, Flash, go on.
Flash.
Like a TV serial or cinema serial, Saturday morning serial. Yeah,
I'm not sure if I wrote too much, but there's quite a bit on these slides.
I can imagine there is. It's okay.
Okay, so my inspiration, it started with horror movies and how I would never react like that in any situation. And then I found a local myth around where I live, and I was like, I gotta work that into my movie. Okay, so my idea is a short horror film inspired by the myths. I wanted to make it as stereotypical teenagers find a cursed object and everything goes wrong, except I make it more how I would react and not walk towards the sounds of twigs snapping in a forest. The first myth, this is more backstory to the second myth around where I live. There was a wolf in 1904 that was killing a bunch of sheep, which isn't very good because they need the sheep. But they eventually found it had been cut in half by a train, actually the train track going to Carlisle. It turned out the wolf wasn't the one they saw killing people, and then they never found it. And then later on, in 1971, two kids found these two strange rock head things in the garden, and their house started to get haunted because things were going flying everywhere. They were seeing strange creatures. One of the two creatures was a half wolf, half person thing that's been represented by either somebody split directly down the middle and having two heads, or like half wolf on top. And then people thought it was the revenge of the wolf that got cut in half by the train, and so they got really suspicious. But then a man came out and said he had made the two heads for his daughter, and the psychic who had eventually gotten hold of the heads trying to prove what they were went missing. So nobody actually knows what happened. Oh, and that was the actual newspaper article about it when it happened. I want to call the actual short film, I want to call it Bury the Head in the Sand, based on the saying to bury one's head in the sand, because I want to have the teenagers obviously ignoring everything, because you're not going to be suspicious of some things happening. You'll probably think it's like your siblings messing around. The actual plot, I want to be some teenagers who found a weird looking rock in a charity shop for like 20p and were like, it's only 20p. Then they get haunted, and they obviously don't care until it becomes a problem where one of the two creatures actively tries to take one of them away in like a murder plot. And that's when they try and like get rid of the curse. But I want it to end with them not being sure if they've actually gotten rid of it or not. The characters, I went on 16 personalities, which was a lot more work than I wish I'd done. First of all, none of their names really mean anything, because I realised later that I probably should have looked into names more. I just wanted stereotypical names. I don't want the teenagers to be anything special, like they're being cursed because it's their bloodline that's cursed or anything. They're just teenagers. And then the myths. I did a lot of research on myths of half goats and half wolves, because that was what was seen by the people who were getting haunted. I decided on a Glastig, which is a ghost that appears in Scottish mythology, which was quite close to the Celtic, which was what people originally thought the heads were. It's a ghost that likes to lure people into safety to drink their blood. And I haven't decided on whether to do an actual half wolf or just have signs of a wolf in the background, because I feel like that would be a lot of money I don't have. The actual timeline, just cut into 5 basic points. The start, which is when there's like a slight backstory to how they got the head and like introducing that there is a backstory. The actual haunting, the realization that something's wrong, chase scene, because you can't have a horror movie without chase scenes. I've watched too much Scooby-Doo. And then the ending, when one of them gets taken away and, like, they don't see him again, and the rest of them are just sitting there like, are we next? Themes. Ignoring problems. I originally wanted to go more into themes of how parents can ignore their children when they make claims they don't believe are real, because they know better, they're adults. They would know if these things existed. However, I decided it would be harder to get adults than to get teenagers, because I have friends. So I went with how sometimes people, I find especially teenagers, can tend to ignore problems until they become massive things. Talking from personal experience. Places. That's the woods near my house. There's a river, which I thought they could throw the head in it to try and get rid of it. There's a bridge there too. And especially this part, which is the old mine and a random decrepit looking house. My house, I don't have any pictures of my house, which is weird because I live there. And those are the streets. I thought those would be pretty good. Music. I've just got some examples of where I could get music from, because creepy music is not optional in this film. There's, I could use BandLabs, ask an actual band, which I don't have the social skills to do, and getting copyright-free music. Budget, which I don't have. But costumes, I don't really want to spend more than £15, because most of it will be outfits that people should just have in their wardrobe. Travel, there may be need for fuel for a car to get from places, but most of them are within walking distance. Venues, most of them are outdoors, so I shouldn't have to pay for anything. But at most I'm willing to pay is £20 for any sort of place. Actors, I am currently talking to one of my friends who knows a bunch of people who work in drama clubs, and they are willing to do it for free. So I shouldn't have to pay for that. Any questions?
Nice. Okay, students, you got any questions? Becca.
For copyright free, Alex has a license for audio, but it's with 2 eyes. We used it for the interactive. We've got loads of stuff you can like choose, like the mood, if you want something indie, but if you want something scary, there's stuff for that. And Alex has a license for it. So you can
Okay.
just ask him for it. Well, he has something.
Cool, any other questions? Yeah, I guess you covered everything. Marcy, you got anything to add?
Did you do your goat's leg with your wood?
I got most of the way through making it, but then we ran into some problems when it started falling apart, and my mum's going to try and finish it today.
Right, okay. So, you know, before Easter, we talked about the beginning of the fog, didn't we? Where there's the old man on the beach and he's telling this tale of...
We've got the same note, yeah.
Have you? The Witch. I would recommend you watching that. Rosemary's Baby, we've already mentioned. And Darren, a couple of years ago, showed this thing. Gets me every time. There's different variations of it, but it's the monster under the bed. And it's like parents not believe, parents, like you touched on, parents not believing children and say, oh, there's something under my bed or whatever, and there is something under my bed. So that's good. No, I just know any questions I have, you'd have already thought of them, to be honest. So, no.
Cool. Michelle, you okay? You got any questions?
It's not so much a question, it's just more like a comment, really. Because this is like an area that I'm probably the worst one with, because I hate horror. I can't cope with horror stuff at all normally. Just really, really well presented out. Really clearly thought, really clearly planned. I'm really impressed. It's the first time that I've really heard your voice within a session, so well done.
Yeah, I concur. That was excellent, and it usually is from you. You also, it's so interesting when you say you don't have social skills, because you can talk without fillers, like seamlessly.
Yeah, I have a problem of knowing what's appropriate in conversations.
Yeah, me too.
It tends to
Think
scare
most
people
do.
away.
You have quite the random sense of humour, but I love it.
Yeah, you're quite like charismatic.
That's the
Yes.
word I was looking for.
Yes, well done.
It's how I get my siblings to be in my films.
Entourage.
Okay, so I've got really nice looking
See.
slides, really in depth, really cool style, really cool delivery. Good to use real life stories as inspiration. That's quite common with writers. That was cool. That Hexham Head story is creepy as. Like that had kind of had me really leaning in. And like Marcia, I was like, you know, you could almost just take that and tell it as a ghost story, like the opening of The Fog, and you just have people around a fire. And because that's kind of creepy. If you get the right person delivering that story, that is creepy. There's also a Neil Gaiman short story about an elderly lady who finds the Holy Grail in a charity shop, and all these knights keep turning up to get it back from her, and she makes them cut the grass and do chores around the house, and so you've got these big like knights kind of just being bullied by this old lady because please can we have it. Very good use of 16 personalities, loads of text, which is fine because it'll help on your blog, but I don't think you read any sentence from any of your text, which is all in your head. You read really, really well, no fillers, clearly know what you're talking about. Watch the bus scene in Cat People. I think we watched it at the beginning of the year. It's like black and white, women walking, tension, being stalked by like a cat person. Parents not believing children is really common. I've experienced that. I think I've told you examples of that. And Allendale Woods is a great location. So all of that is good. It's quite big still. So I'm not sure where to go with that, but it's your FMP, so it could be okay. So how's it going to end?
It's gonna end with, so one of the characters is gonna have just been taken off by the glass stage. It's gonna be like a hypnotism sort of situation, where they've just ran away to try and get rid of the head, and they see just after they've thrown it away that he's still following her,
Okay.
but they don't have time to grab him before they just disappear into the woods.
Okay. So could you have it that one of them's do they find the head or do they take it with them?
They originally it's like in one of the girls' houses because they thought it just looked funny,
Yeah.
and one of the girls has remembered that her mum has an old video with it in, and it's going to be like a reference to the original myth of one of the boys finding the head. I'm going to make an old-fashioned video, and they're going to be watching it on the TV, and that's how it's going to start.
Whew, okay, that's cool. Because if you don't manage to do that, you could probably cut it if you didn't get it done.
Mm.
So could you have it? So they're walking through Allendale Woods at one point. They've got the head, and they establish that whoever holds the head is going to get taken, but they don't really believe it.
Mm.
But then one of them goes missing, and then the other two find the head on the floor. And they're like, "Wait, they gone missing? Are they just messing with us? Whatever." Could you do it something like that? Is that what you had in your mind?
Well, originally it was going to be like they left it in her house and they were going to the woods to just hang out.
Okay.
But then they see this creature and she doesn't look normal. She's going to have like a ghostly look to her face. And,
How are you going to do that?
I was going to do special effects makeup or maybe have it slightly transparent.
What you could do is you could film that person in front of a green screen, keep the camera on the other shot really still, and just have it as two different shots and lay them on top of each other so you can edit the person as much as you want and it not affect anything else.
Yeah, you could also just use point of view from the monster and just change the image slightly, like wash it out or make it black and white or make it, do you know what the Predator is? Okay.
The infrared.
Favourite film. Well, it's not. It's one of my
Or like, you know how sometimes you'll see in those goofy movies, you'll see it through the point of view as a fly, and
Yeah.
they've got like all the hexagons and sort of.
Yeah, totally, that kind of look. Yeah, just you know, it's kind of an alien style looking.
It's like,
I know, I think
Hexagons.
it's verging on too ambitious, but I don't want to underestimate you, and I think it's better to do a kind of valiant failure
Mm.
And I think there's lots of elements that you can pull if you needed to. So if it gets too much, like your film could just be them in the wood, kind of being stalked, and that'll hold up. But if you can do all that backstory stuff as well, that's even better. And then see where it goes. But yeah, that was excellent. It was a really good presentation. Well done. Sweet. Okay.